Graphic Designer Lorraine Luby. Welcome to TCC Snap. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I'm glad we weren't rolling a second ago. We were talking about beards, and how your boyfriend had to shave um, his beard off after 12 years,
Yeah.
which is completely horrific. But we're not going to talk about beards today. We are going to talk about everything, graphic design, everything in terms of your career, where it started, where it is now, the ups and downs, the in-betweens. So I suppose let's start where we normally start with these sort of series of podcasts, a bit of an origin story, cliff notes, if you will, of why graphic design and what has brought you to us sitting, I was going to say opposite one another. We're not, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So the why. So graphic design, it was kind of the only thing I was good at in school. So went to college, graduated in 2007, did a couple of little jobs in between, but obviously 2008 was the recession.
Mm,
So also worked admin. And then I think going on 6 years ago, because where we've moved now, we're an hour from family. We've got young children in school, partner works away. So I was like, I need to work from home. So when my younger daughter was like it was a year before she was going to start play school, I kind of was like, I think I'll try it. I'll at least try it.
okay.
I never had any confidence around it, but moving to like the countryside and meeting neighbors, they were all talking about how like when we first moved in, fair play to the girl next door. She invited me in to meet her friends. We were here about a week. So I went in and got quite tipsy with them. But I was asking them, like, what do you do? And what do you do? And they were all self-employed. And
Okay.
coming from a city and being a normal person, we didn't come from money.
Yeah.
I only ever thought self-employed was for the rich, you know, but
Right.
these were normal people being self-employed. And I think that planted the seed. And so then I thought, well, okay, look, when the younger child is going to play school, I'm going to at least try it. So I gave myself about a year of researching, well, what do I need to do? Listening to podcasts, saving for a laptop, and like books and all the rest. And then the day that she started play school, I went home and started working.
So that year that you were researching, did you have a date in mind that you're saying, right, this is,
The day that she started play school.
yeah, and so that day then, um, I suppose I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this question. Did you have that year, did you have everything set up to kind of just press a button and everything's live? Or for instance, you were then going to start networking on that day or start marketing on that day? How did your business start on day one?
Well, I had started saying it to people, just to
Okay.
friends.
Yeah.
And it happened that a girl I worked with many moons ago in an admin position was going out herself as a digital marketer. And it totally coincided. So she asked me to do her logo and her brand identity. So I went home and started working for her straight away on her project.
Nice. So you had a client straight out the box, basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And one that she was the perfect client because she's no nonsense. So she wouldn't have humored me either. She's a very direct person, which is also, I think, really important. There was no point in me having somebody that was just like, oh, well done, you're great, but it was awful. So I knew that any feedback I got from her, I could use as a really good foundation for clients that I don't know.
And so what was the feedback from her? Like
Uh,
roughly, was
gosh.
there any parts of the process where you thought, like, despite all this year of research, and you thought, wow, I couldn't have even thought of that. I need to get better at that. I need to get better at this.
Um,
This went well. What was your kind of
yeah,
feelings after that?
I'm not sure because I had always done like mixers that were logos over the years. But I did quickly realize after her that I needed proposals and contracts, whereas we were kind of just like a couple of emails back and forth, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I've always, because I did work closely with her in a different life, in a different industry, I knew that we would communicate really well together. She's not a yes person and neither am I.
Okay.
But I did learn a lot in the project itself. Like I remember because technology had changed a little bit in the years that I was either like having babies or whatever it might have been, moving house, moving country. So I remember trying to convert the colors
Okay.
from, now I know you always start with print and then go backwards to screen, but I remember just trying to convert the colors and nothing was quite as I had recalled in previous projects.
Okay.
Because I didn't have the laptop yet. I was doing it on the iPad. And I spent hours fixating on making sure that the colors were the same.
Right.
Hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that probably then made me go, I need to get the laptop because I knew then it would be quicker on that software.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have since redrawn her logo for her.
Have you?
No,
Okay.
it was a vector. It was a vector to begin with, but I have, like, just in the last 12 months, I've redrawn everything because there was a couple of things that were bugging me. So I ended up going back and redrawn it for her.
Okay. Okay. Which I
Luckily, it was simple design, so it wasn't too bad. Didn't take me too long,
right.
but it was
Okay.
just annoying me because she's still using it, so it was just really annoying me.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had a bit of time in between projects and you went back.
You always learn something from every single project.
Yeah. 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 Totally
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. Well, I think the moment that you don't, um, is probably the time that you need to either sort of think to yourself, I'm not pushing myself enough.
Mm.
Because I think, and I've been absolutely guilty of this, sometimes you can get in a bit of a rut, if other stuff's going on, and you know the stuff that you absolutely can do within time that will be good enough.
Yeah.
Um, but then how do you carve out the time? How do you kind of carve out the energy to sort of go a bit beyond that? But
Mm.
so is that so in terms of professional development or feeling like you're improving at your craft, how do you do that in a deliberate way, deliberate way, or is it more project by project, just feeling like you're getting better? How does that work for you?
At the start, I really consumed podcasts
Mm,
and books, and I bought courses.
okay.
So I feel like I really put the work in, I would say, in the first 3 years
Mm,
to make sure that I was staying focused on really the difference between the Nixer and the business. So saying like I had done Nixers in the past, but to try and stay focused on, well, this is now a business and a business strategy,
when you
and
say
not
um,
just
when you say
spare money.
Nixers,
Like as in now, like like freelance, but here and there, and just like
oh,
like a
okay,
nudge over a pint in the, like
got it,
as
got
opposed
it.
to an actual business strategy.
With you.
So I think I put in a lot of work in the first 3 to 4 years, like the year before, and then once I started, I realized that there was some errors.
Yeah,
I didn't have a tight contract. And like within the year, I needed to get that organized because I realized that deadlines were slipping away. And then I was getting stressed because I had other projects coming in, but this other thing was meant to be finished and it wasn't.
okay.
So I really needed to align all of that pretty quickly. Now for projects, when a project is over, um, I do take a moment to kind of think, well, what went right and what wasn't so good.
Yeah.
And I try and bring that forward. But sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you can tell something is going a bit weird, and other times you can't really tell until it's too late. And sometimes nothing goes weird. So it is good, I think, to pause at the end of every project because there might be some signs there.
Okay, so that brings me on to another question about projects in general then and how you divide your time. Because you said you just said you take some time out after a project to kind of reflect on it, what went well, what didn't go well. So am I right in saying that then you only handle one project at a time, or do you spin lots of plates? How does that work?
It's usually a fair few plates. I can work on two larger projects at any given time, as long as they don't have the same start date. Because often projects will be with clients for sign-offs. We will meet times roughly. throughout the process. And so at some point, like I will have, I'll be on like the end of the first round. I will have that sent to the client, whether it's one person or a board, I'm waiting for feedback and then I can be working on something else. So I find that if I can kind of like ebb and flow between two projects, it actually works quite well because you'll probably notice yourself when you start thinking about something else, the other problem will kind of come to the forefront. So
Mm,
often when
yeah.
I'm working on project A, I start solving project B's problems and vice versa. So as long as I don't have the same start date with the same interim deadlines, that works quite well. And then I do tend to take on smaller little projects that I don't really advertise on the website.
Okay.
But like the likes of that digital marketing girl, like she will send me a little bit of work every so often. And then I could be working on that as well in the background. But for the
Okay. Well,
big
that,
projects, two maximum at a time.
yeah. Okay. So that in from what you just said there, that sounds like literally the perfect business in terms of capacity, having enough. We'll talk about pricing in a minute, but having enough sort of creative energy because of how you um, organize your time, I suppose. Um,
Mm,
but those of us who have run a business for anything, more than a year, 2 years, know that it very rarely works like that in terms of, it would be lovely if one project led to another, and to another, to another. So hypothetically, and you might have been in this position, what happens if a great project comes in, or you're working on two projects, and then a third one comes in? Are you really boundaried at saying, right, well, I can't take this on yet? Or do you think freelance work, you never quite know, and then take it on? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't take it on.
Wow, that's
Um,
great.
I have lost some projects because I needed yesterday.
Okay.
But I'll work off waiting lists. And if somebody can't, like basically what I will do is I will chat to somebody and over the discovery call, they'll probably say, "Oh, I need a deadline for this." And I always ask why. Like, why is it that the date? Often it's just because I said it. And sometimes there might be an actual reason. But if it's something that I can't fit in, then like I mean, I would basically just say to them, okay, well, look, my start date would be the 1st of June, say. But imagine that's a couple of weeks away. If that doesn't work for them, then that doesn't work for them. Often it does, and I won't put anything into my calendar, and I learned this the hard way in the initial years. I don't put any projects into my calendar until the deposit money is in my account.
Okay.
Because this has happened in the past where I've booked somebody in for the 1st of June. Somebody else comes along and I know I'm at capacity, so I end up saying no. That first person never materializes and the other person has wandered off.
Okay.
So for
Okay.
that reason, I really protect my calendar.
Hmm.
Um, and the reason that I don't force, say, that third project is I won't do a good job. I would just be stretched too far. And I know I'm in business for myself and everything else, but at the end of the day, I really want to be able to support the clients. It is quite collaborative. And I would just, if I felt like I was kind of getting stressed and then maybe cutting corners and half-assing it a bit, I just wouldn't feel comfortable. It's not worth it. It's not, no one's going to be happy with that situation.
I mean, this is incredible. Because it sounds like that you've. All right, I'm going to come to that thought in a minute because another hypothetical, or sort of asking about potentially what's happened in the past. Because I know that I've tried to do that in the past, like become really boundary in terms of capacity and things like that. No, this is my start date. The only trouble that I find is that if next month is looking quiet, or maybe I haven't got too much in the pipeline, or leads are drying up, I just find it too difficult to say no because you never quite
Mm.
know. So how have you been in a position where you've, say, turned down work, you work off the waiting list, which is great, but have you been in a position where you've actually been quite short of potentially, money because of that?
Mm.
How has the business ebbed and flowed because of how you've done it? Because I think it's a like yeah, it's a fascinating sort of process that you're doing.
Um, I save.
Okay.
So any invoices that come in, percentages go to
Yeah.
different areas. So I will save, and I also have a list of projects that for myself to grow the business.
Yeah.
So I have a course and also two different smaller packages that I want to develop and launch. So what I find is I'll kind of, if there is a lull in time, I'll work on them. And often, touch wood, I find that the lull never lasts very long. So I might think, oh God, there's nothing next month. Um, but then something tends to come in, even if it is one of the smaller jobs, there might only be a couple of hundred. It's still something, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't panic and I don't twiddle my thumbs. I have my list of like sideline projects that I think will help grow the business long term. And so I just jump back into them.
Yeah. And
So
so
at least I'm being productive. Might be a bit broke that month, but at least I'm being productive.
yeah, yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Um, and I think that's really smart as well because it means that you're doing something proactively
Yeah,
in your quiet times rather than just panicking, basically. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And so where does a lot of your business come from now? And so what kind of marketing do you do to get people through the Lorraine door?
Yeah, I mean, I really need to work on that. I try to
Don't we all?
network.
Don't we all?
I try to network, but my time is quite limited because of the young children and my situation. So I really rarely get to do anything in person. So I'll do a little bit online, but I would say projects tend to have come from doing good work and being referred. I'd say that's where the majority of my clients come from.
Yeah. There was about 18 months ago, 2 years, I remember like it was yesterday, a shift on a certain project that I was doing. I've told this many times, so if you've heard it, apologies. But I remember doing doing this project and I really worked hard on it. And I was quite worried about like the next month or the month after that, but I thought, well, let's just do this project, then I can sort it out. And the project went really well. And through that, I got some more work, and through that, I got some more. And then it suddenly occurred to me, just like you said, like by doing good work, that's literally your best marketing.
Mm,
And so that reframing of, yes, I'm doing the actual creative work and I'm not marketing. Well, actually, you are. Firstly, because you don't know where that client can take you in terms of repeat custom. And so the
yeah,
implied value of that, but also who they can tell and who can they can tell. So, and yeah, of course, marketing can be really, really complicated and there's lots of aspects to it. But I think nailing the basics of, well, do your job well and
yeah,
price well, so you can give it that time, which we'll talk about in a minute. That's a good starting point, isn't it? And there's of course there's always more stuff that you can do, but it's a good starting point.
yeah. I feel like when you're self-employed, you only have so many hours. And at the end of the day, the client work is what's paying the bills.
Mm,
So, I mean, I know that a lot of like influencers and stuff would say, oh, 50% of your time should be marketing. That is not a luxury I have. Like,
mm.
there's no chance. Like, so I try and do, I would say it's somewhere between 10 and 15% of my
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
I would like to do more, but even like the projects that like I come in and out of, it's not necessarily marketing, it's just trying to be maybe more accessible in my packages because I do realize that everything's on fire at the moment. So I also need to kind of react to that. Um, but yeah, I just don't think that it's for the majority of freelancers, it's just not a luxury that we have where we can be constantly promoting ourselves. So
yeah.
yeah, head
It's
down, do the work.
pardon.
So yeah, head down, do the work, and
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's something that when I was speaking to Jude, the last episode, that was it was interesting because I mean
yeah,
their business literally is a 50-50 split because there's two of
yeah,
them.
yeah,
But the trade-off for that is you have to make a lot more money because there's two
yeah,
of them. So, yeah, but I think 10, 10, 15% is what you can do, isn't it?
Yeah, like their business model is if I could do I could never work with my partner though.
I,
Just wouldn't work.
yeah,
We'd kill each other.
absolutely. I bid or no bid, exactly. It's I totally agree. Okay, uh, so what strikes me then is that if you can um, balance two projects and smaller ones as well, but if we just keep it simple, roughly two big projects, um, which brings in enough money to the business for you to live and do everything you want to do. How did you come up with that pricing structure, and how has that changed from the early days, which is probably a complete
Oh
shit
God.
show, like most of us, to
Yes.
to what it is now? Talk me through that.
Yeah, no, it was an absolute, it was crazy, which is the pricing at the beginning for my branding identity projects. Because I mean, you kind of like, you should be getting back in touch with those older clients and saying, hi, if you know somebody, let me know. But I can't because the price difference is so huge
Okay.
from where I started that
Mm, mm.
I can't get into that conversation. Like,
Have
it's
you
just
tried?
so. Um, Most of them I don't want to. Because also, I would say I wasn't as professional in the process.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I mean, I have had some referrals from some for
Mm,
sure.
mm.
And then I've had the conversations and I have reached out to past clients, but I haven't really gone back
Yeah.
to the
That's
6 years ago past
that's
clients at
fair
the
enough.
same time.
Yeah.
As for my pricing, I kind of just work backwards. I do have like an hourly rate in my head.
Okay.
Um, I clock all of my time, so I know how much a project is actually, like how much time it's actually taking. And then I've just kind of worked it out that way. But I very much work off package prices.
Yeah.
No hidden fees, nothing like that, because I don't want to have the awkward conversation with somebody at the end of a project.
Mm.
And I don't think that they want to be wondering either, like, oh, how much is this actually going to cost me? Oh, like, and that's where my contract has come in very important because it's like I'm really tight on revisions.
Okay.
So, like, after a certain amount of revisions, it is going to cost, and it is going to cost this much. Um, so I have my package, and then I have the contract that spells everything out.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do a deeper dive into pricing in a second, but revisions, because that is, I think
It's like,
we can probably have a long conversation about revisions and how you charge for that. Because what is a revision? That's kind of what a client can say. Well, what does that, does that count as a revision? Does that count as
yeah.
a revision? So do you have X amount priced in and then extra, and what classes a revision for you?
So on any kind of logo brand identity projects, for the most part, it would be three revisions.
Yep.
But we do break it up into phases. But I still include the three over the whole thing. And but I'll probably allow a sneaky one in there at the end before we start having the conversation. You
Okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but usually because of the way I do very much lead. So like I don't just go off on a project and be like, hey, this is your logo. Do you like it?
Yeah.
It's very collaborative in the sense of I'll go off and explore and I'll come with like say three different concepts that are very rough. And I'll show them and say, this is where we're going, this is why we're going in these three different directions. Do you like any? And so they'll pick one usually, and then we'll explore that further. So
Yeah.
so that's not a revision, that's a
No.
decision they made and we're going forward. So the revisions are kind of more when they want to see changes or if they try and backtrack on something.
Yeah.
That's more where I'd kind of count the revisions. But I've also included, honestly, my contract is huge these days.
Mhm.
Like a waterfall clause. So if we have signed off a phase, we can't go back.
And a what clause?
A like waterfall clause, so like as in no going backwards.
Oh, waterfall. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no going back
You can't
uphill.
go back up.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean we can, but it would cost a lot more
Yeah.
money and time. So if a phase has been, and my phases are really like spelled out in the proposals and the contract. So if a phase has been signed off, we can't go backwards. And what I found, the reason I kind of put this one in is I found even though clients are with me for the whole journey and we're discussing everything, they're making decisions, they're getting their changes, I'm explaining everything to them. I found that at the very end, before they sign off, they start to panic and they'll go, oh, but what about concept two in phase one? I'm like, no, like that was 6 weeks ago. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going back there.
Okay.
And so that was kind of why I included that in and it would just be cold feet, which I totally understand.
Yeah. But how do you have that conversation? How do you say do you literally, because you're quite good at contracts, do you say, as per contract, unfortunately, we can't go back there because it's all very well us chatting now and you or I saying, oh, I just said no, we couldn't do that. But that's a lot harder actually when they're either sitting there or they're paying you money and it's a
Yeah.
big project. So how do your personal skills deal with that?
Well, as I said, it's cold feet. So I just ask questions.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
I'll just say, "Well, why? Why now? Yesterday you liked it. What is it about it that has you worried? Why are you concerned?" And usually just having that conversation calms them down. Or maybe there might be something. Like once it was a tiny color change, like a teeny tiny color change. That I did there and then. I was like, okay, let me open it and I'll open the working files. And I'll say, so what is it? Like that isn't quite hitting it. And it was one tiny little color change that we made to it. And she was like, that's it. That's it. We're done.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So it is just being really open to helping them with their nerves because they had, as
Mm.
I said, like they've had weeks to see it and we're ebb and flow, and then it's panic at the end, which I totally understand because like they're going to get loads of files. Like it's not just like they get
Yeah.
one file and off you go.
Good
Like
luck.
I would say there's hundreds in the folders.
Yeah.
So I can understand why they're a bit scared. And then they're thinking about next step. Now I have to launch it. I need to market myself and all the rest. So yeah, so conversations, just real
Mm.
conversations and try and help them there as best I can. I haven't so far, touch wood, had anybody who is like, no, no, like I hate it. Because as I said, they've liked it the whole time. And sometimes it's because, and I really try and tell people not to do this, they've put it on their Instagram or something. It's like, do you like A or do you like B?
Oh, wow.
This kind
Mm.
of thing.
Mm.
And then they just get loads of noise
Yeah.
out of context and they panic.
Okay. Yeah. That's not ideal.
So sometimes that's the reason as well.
Mm. So, do you still put yourself on the clock so you time everything? Because I presume now you've done it so much, you know what a branding project roughly will take. There's a range of time that it's going to take. It's either going to take slightly less than that range or slightly more, but within that range, the project is still worth doing. Um, so do you still put yourself on the clock to see how well that or how quickly you've done that project, or how does that work?
I still put myself on the clock really so I can see how I'm spending my week.
Okay.
Because like that maybe because sometimes some weeks I've networked too much.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I got nothing of like nothing that's paying me
Yeah. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I keep on top of it because often you can't see as the day goes on. I was like, oh, hang on, that was unpaid work and that was unpaid work and that was unpaid work. I really need to level that out next week.
Yeah.
So that's really why I clock everything. It's just to keep myself right.
Okay. Okay. It seems like you've got a very robust, well, see, from an outsider, maybe you don't feel like this, but from what you've said, it feels like you've got a very robust system in place in terms of boundaries, time, pricing, marketing potentially as well. But I know a lot of it's word of mouth. So you seem very settled in your business. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I will say though that this year has been the most challenging for
Okay.
keeping things on schedule. I have had a couple of projects where halfway through, because of their own reasons, they've put a pin in it.
Mm.
And so I do have a couple of projects that are floating out here somewhere,
Yeah.
and I just touch base every once in a while to be like, are we ready to keep going? So sometimes it's not that beautiful. Apart from this year, I've never had that problem before, but this year it's definitely been an issue.
Okay.
But like that, I just kind of keep conversations open and pull out my other stuff to work on while I'm waiting on people if that does happen.
And you mentioned deposits earlier, so I presume if that does happen, I mean, whatever happens, they've paid like a
Yeah.
percentage of the bill anyway. So
Yeah.
you're not chasing them saying, well, we need to finish this, so I need to get paid.
No, I'm not out of pocket. Like nobody owes me money right now for work that I've already completed.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. So when they come back, great. It'll be it'll be some extra work. But the work that
Yeah.
you've already done, you've been kind of paid for anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not a perfect world, and I think like I touched off it earlier on as well. Like just there's so many people are afraid to spend money at the moment. People
Mm.
are afraid to commit. People are afraid to go out on their own. Like people are afraid to invest. And I think we just need to like just be mindful of that as well, you know.
And have you thought of that within your pricing as well? Have you mentioned earlier different offerings, but in terms of your big ticket items, you haven't thought about bringing that price down? No, it's
No,
that's what it
no.
is. Even if it gets quiet,
That's
that's
no,
what it is.
no. That's the hours. That's what it is. And quite frankly, it wouldn't be fair on my clients to have paid it.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So no, that's what it is. And that's why like I was trying to think, well, what can I do? And so I have made maybe smaller offers that I need to finalize and put out there. But it's still my time is still worth the same, like hourly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's still respectful to past clients as well.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've spoken a reasonable amount about the business and systems and proposals and all the boring stuff, I suppose. Very necessary. I actually quite enjoy it, but for some people it's boring, the business side. But in terms of your style, when you're doing projects, how you get inspiration, how did you land on the style that you have now? And again, like a lot of these questions, I'm sure it has changed over time? How has it changed over
Mm,
time? Has it changed as your skills have increased? Has it changed depending on what you've been consuming in terms of content? And do you think it's going to change in the future as well? Do you think in 10, 15 years it's going to change? But yeah, talk me through your
yeah.
style now. How would you
Um,
describe it?
but I'm not really an illustrator as such. So I've always liked very simple, clean designs. And it's how we were taught as well. I'm old enough to remember that when we were taught about logos, it was you have to be able to photograph it black and white and still made sense.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
think that's where my style actually really comes from,
Yeah.
is that like it has to work in black. It has to work in
Interesting.
solid black. And inspiration wise, it comes from the client brief.
Okay, well that makes perfect sense. But I presume clients are drawn to you because of the style that you have and that you've honed over the years. Or are you saying that depending on what the client wants, you can be what's the animal? Chameleon, be a bit of a
Hmm.
stylistic chameleon. Didn't think I was going to say that on the podcast. How does that work?
Yeah, I guess it must be the first one actually, because people tend to get in touch with me and say, "Oh, I really like your style. I saw what you did with X client,"
Yeah.
or like that they might have heard how I worked with that person and hopefully made them feel at ease. And like, I really want clients to enjoy the process. So yeah, I imagine it is that they quite like my style. And that's what initially kind of draws them in. Because I have had people before who have contacted me and I know that I wouldn't be the right fit.
Okay.
So I have sent them off to a different graphic designer. Because like that, if it's really illustrative, then I'm not your person. It's better for you to use somebody else.
And is that because you sometimes get that with the people that I speak to, if they hear a photographer or a videographer, they see a person with a camera and they can do everything.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a huge range of styles within that, and you know that depending on what they want, a good you're just not going to be a good fit. But getting that across is quite difficult. Well, you're a graphic designer, of course, you can do a logo, you know. So
Yeah.
it's then I suppose it's about education and having maybe a trusted team that you can say, well, I can't, you know, lovely that you thought of me, but this is going to be the person to go to.
Exactly. It's not like I'm saying, nah, see you later. It's more a case of I don't think I'll be the right fit because of X, Y, and Z, but I do know somebody. Do you want me to pass on your details where I can introduce you and go from there?
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I mean, it kind of comes back to what we were saying earlier on about like, I want them to enjoy the process.
Mm,
I
mm,
want to be the right person for the job. I want them to be the right, we don't have to be like besties at the end of it, but I want to make sure that it's a good fit, like whether it's style or personality or whatever it might be.
yeah, awesome. Well, Lorraine, we've talked about most things in business, and we now know a peek behind the curtain. Zoom chucked us off after 40 minutes because I didn't see the timer, and so Lorraine was completely mid-flow, and we got chucked out. But we're here now, and we finished it. So thank you for spending your Wednesday afternoon with me, Lorraine. That was an awesome chat. Thank you.